Welcome to Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course, one of the most premier facilities on the GRIDLIFE Touring Cup calendar. This is round 4 of 6 in the GRIDLIFE Festival Tour. We're about ready to go racing for race 1 of 4 in GRIDLIFE Touring Cup. Aaron Lichty's weekend didn't start great. A fuel pump issue in his Porsche Cayman has led to him being up in the booth with Craig Creamer. Toss up to you guys before I head back over to talk to some drivers before the race.
All right, thank you very much, Kyle. And you're down there where it sounds awfully nice right now as all those engines start to spring to life. I am Greg Creamer, joined by Aaron Lichty. We're getting ready for this race coming up here, and it can run anywhere between 12 and 18 minutes. We generally say about a 15-minute race. And one of the things I love about that the GRIDLIFE concept, not just in terms of the rules that make all these cars work together so well, but as everybody says, you know, there's the start of the race and the finish of the race, and you take out that kind of boring middle.
Yep.
These things are just nonstop excitement.
Yep, about 3 laps of race start to kind of figure out who you're battling, about 3 laps to size them up, and then 3 laps to finish it off. I think it works well.
Yeah, and you coming off a win at Road America, a great drive that you had there of that weekend. We were talking, this is a track you really enjoy.
I love this track. It's my favorite track to race at. I think the parity here in this class is most exemplified on this track. So, yeah, it's a little painful to be up here, but I'm enjoying it.
I bet it is. I bet it is. Well, this is a driver's track, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely.
All right. Well, as we're taking a look at the pit straight here, now remember the start will happen actually coming out of turn 2, going into turn 4. But as we're watching, the grid is forming up down there in the pre-grid area, and Kyle is still there. Kyle?
Here with James Houghton getting ready to go racing in GLTC at Mid-Ohio in his number 41 K-tuned Acura TSX. James, last year you were right up front. Won a couple races here last season. How are you feeling about this?
Feeling really good. We've been working on the balance all season. Right at the end of Road America, we felt like we got it really close. We made some more changes for this weekend. It's the best it's ever felt.
Well, good luck to you. I know we're getting ready to go racing here shortly, so hop on in. I think you got an onboard camera with us here as well, so good luck to you.
You bet. We'll hope to have some good shots out there.
Back to you, Greg.
All right, thank you very much, Kyle. And as you can see here, a good turnout, obviously. And in terms of the paddock, we've got Drift, we've got Time Attack, the NOS Energy Drink, a GRIDLIFE Time Attack Championship, the Track Battle Championship, and of course, a Touring Cup. This place holds a lot of memories for me. One of them is this is the first time I ever announced a GRIDLIFE event a couple of years ago, and it just blew me away. And that was the one that made me an absolute confirmed fan of this championship. And the magic is, you know, we're seeing it. You've got Corvettes racing against Civics, and then you've got like Subarus that essentially have V8s wedged into them.
Yep.
All these things, and yet by the end of the race, everybody's running very clearly similar times.
Yep. Yeah, and this is where we launched GLTC in 2019, so I always think of it as a little bit of a homecoming for the series, and so it always feels a little special and brings back some memories of being involved in that first event that I'm quite fond of. I want to comment because I really like that he interviewed James Houghton there, because I kind of have James as one of my wild cards in this race. He's starting, I believe, P7. And as much as he's Honda powered like the 2 cars in front of him, he's got a little more straight line speed than those guys. And so I'm kind of interested to see if he's going to break out on the start and kind of run after that 4th place Corvette, or if he's going to give one of his Honda buddies a push to keep them in the fight a little longer.
Well, I think it will be interesting, and obviously the more power you have, the more weight you carry. And you know the Corvette's strong in qualifying, but that doesn't always translate into the last 5 minutes of the race, does it?
No, it doesn't. As the cars get heavier, they do tend to fall off a little bit, and if the nimbler guys didn't have to work their tires too much in the middle, there might be some advantage there. I think all these guys in these 4th, 5th, 6th place spots are going to be working the tires pretty darn hard right from the drop of the green flag.
I think so too. We've seen Matt Walbaum evolve into being a really top-tier driver in this category, and we've talked about Houghton, but Paul Darling, now that he's switched over into a different car, has really come alive, hasn't he?
Absolutely. Paul kind of surprised me there with his qualifying. He new car, and so it wasn't necessarily on my radar, but I heard a couple guys whispering in the paddock saying some pretty complimentary things about the qualifying performance he put in. So, yeah, I expect he'll do well in this race as well, starting up in that top 10.
Yep, and Austin Hertel, and then Emil Tabb. I mean, what a turnaround for Emil to even get back here this weekend.
Yeah, he had an issue with the cylinder head at Road America, which was really disappointing, and he's been working his butt off after hours on the weekends to get that car out here. He actually had an alternator issue during qualifying, so he lost ABS due to that. And so he was limping the car through qualifying, trying not to have a lockup. But I think he put in a pretty decent lap and feels pretty good about where he's starting.
Some other guys that we're always going to be watching here. I mean, James Cathers has been a surprise as well, up into the 11th spot in qualifying, doing a nice job. And I think one of the great stories here, Lena Chin, 16th.
I noticed that. I thought she just keeps moving up the field.
Yeah, really improving. Ronnie Vidak, always enjoy watching him run. I'm a little surprised here with Eric Jensen being as far back as he is, sitting 19th with that car, because it's almost, to me, the best of both worlds. The big V8, but the smaller platform that should be agile around here.
I think Eric went to bed about 4:30 last night, and it wasn't because he was having a good time. He had some trailer issues on the way to the track. They had a pretty major issue. I think they were on the side of the road for about 5 hours. Rolled in around 4:30. I think he got up in the morning to prep the car. So he's on 5-hour energy or Red Bull or whatever you do to stay awake on 2 hours of sleep. But yeah, after the bad luck he had, I hope he has a great race from back there. And I agree. I know he can move up the field in this race.
If he's smart, he's on NOS, right? Exactly.
You're right. He better be on NOS.
He better be on NOS. You've been down in that paddock, obviously, and wandering around. What have you heard? Anything interesting in terms of drivers' issues or hopes?
Yeah, I think so. Like I said, I think Houghton's one of my kind of wild cards. And really, when I talk about wild cards, I just mean guys that I think can move. And they can move forward, they can move backwards. You know, we know how that goes in racing. I think he could potentially be a disruptive element in that part of the field. I think Curley's always super fast here, so being on the second row, I kind of expected him on the front row. I wonder how much he'll kind of slot in with his compatriots in the Corvettes versus how much he might try to cannibalize that front row and move up a spot.
Exactly. Well, and it's interesting too. Luke McGrew, we have seen from him that as the field now moving out to start the pace lap, Luke, when that car's working, he is so quick in it, and I know that the car's fast, obviously, but Luke has really started, now he's able to really show what he can do.
Yeah, I spoke with him about that actually right before I came up in the booth with you, and I told him, I said, it doesn't surprise me how well he's doing. He's been racing a ton the last couple of years, and when you race a lot, it just becomes automatic. You're just switched on. And these GLTC weekends, they move fast. 15 minutes of practice, 15 minutes of qualifying. If you're not ready to roll from the get-go, it's going to be a long slog for you. And so he's dialed in. He does a lot of test dates in that car, which not as many other guys do. So his car's always really well prepped. He's going to be a tough set of factors to beat in this race.
Yeah, absolutely. And we really have to talk about Matan Rosenberg. Obviously, just turned 19. We've been watching him race a Mazda, and he's done most of the work himself. And we've seen the flashes, right? Yeah. But it just never has really worked out for him as we hop on board with James. Gets into this Corvette, gets it sorted, comes off of Road America with his first ever win, and showing some real pace. And yes, he benefited from the inversion, but then held off a champion in the category for the entire race and didn't make a mistake. I mean,
James
pretty savvy stuff.
James looked pretty comfy there. 2 fingers on the wheel. Looks like he's about to take a nap. He might have fallen asleep. Somebody ought to check on him. No, there he is. He's right.
Yeah, the alarm went off.
Yeah, Matan, I wonder how much longer we're going to talk about his age, right? He's 19 years old, but as far as I'm concerned, he might as well be a 30-year-old man. His maturity behind the wheel is immense. I think that definitely showed at Road America. That is not a track for the faint of heart. And he clearly knows what he's doing out there. He's super smart, though. So I know these guys feel really comfortable with him. This is also a bit of a home track for him. He's an Ohio resident. He turns a lot of laps up here, so I know he's comfortable, and if an opportunity presents himself, he's going to take it.
Absolutely. Yeah, he'll be there, and he is going to go after it. Let's take a look here at our starting lineup right now. On the pole, as we talked about, Jeremy Swenson, a points leader this year, a former champion in that number 3 Viking Corvette. Luke McGrew in the Corvette qualifies outside of the front row. That's the number 7. We always thank him for the big 7 on the roof. Makes it nice to see and know who we're talking about from the drone shots. Paul Curley, who you talked about, 3rd spot, the number 45 Corvette. Matan Rosenberg in that number 484 Corvette will start 4th. Eric Coutil starts in the 5th spot, the number 82. Starts 6th, number 90, Matt Walbaum. 7th, our camera car, the 41 of James Houghton. Starting 8th, the 55 of Paul Darling. Starting 9th, the 34 of Austin Hertel. Starting 10th, the 374 of Emil Tabb. 11th, the 129 of James Cathers. 12th, the number 2 of Eric Meadows. 13th, the number 17 of Tony Marchev. 14th, the number 1 of Gary Wimble. 15th, the number 132 of Jake Jorenstad. 16th, we talked about the 917 of Lena Chin. Just a great lap for her in qualifying. 17th, the 166 of Ben Thorne. 18th, the 199 of Rodney Vidak. 19th, the number 184 of Eric Jensen. And completing the top 20, the 85 of Samuel Scott. 21st, the 911 of Julio Crispin. 22nd, the 42 of Zach Lavoie. 23rd, the number 4 of Adam Ulrich. 24th, the 410 of Shukla Sal. Starting 25th, the 243 of Kevin Zhu. Starting 26th, the 14 of Carlos Mendez. Starting 27th, the 71 of Joel Morris, and 28th, the 77. It's listed as Myriad Motorsports. I'm sure we'll get the info from Kyle, who's on board for this one. 29th, the number 40 is Jeremy Boyson, and rounding out your top 30, the 169, Derek King, who came up here, did a nice job calling some drift. Starting 31st, the 207 of Adam Wood. 32nd, the 202 of Jacob Price. And starting 33rd, the 187 of Chris Adams. 34th, the 52 of Matt Corns. 35th, the 515 of Thomas Moss. 36th, the 261 of Brad Kosiba. 37th, the 541 of Seth Gale. 38th, the 528 of Richard Sawicki. 39th, the 171 of Clayton Fitzpatrick. 40th, the 546 of Andy Sundin. 41st, the 888 of Dai Nguyen, who had a little issue in the test day with some damage to the front of the car. They got that fixed. 42nd, the 860 of Nathan Manning. 43rd, the 104 of Ben Lynn. And rounding out the 44-car field, at least, that took laps in qualifying, is the number 32. And that is a drive for a young lady named Danielle, who got an award, had an opportunity to get in and give a go at racing. So 44 cars coming up to take the green. And of course, the green happens on the backside here as they head into turn 4, just to give them a little bit more room to rumble as they head down into turn 4 in the section of track that's called Madness. And it's never more appropriate than when 44 cars are heading down into it, waiting for that green flag to set this race 1 on the weekend. We're green. There it is, and a really even start, but look down to the inside. You talked about it. Big move down to the inside right from the off of Paul Curley. See if he's able to get that big. He did. Went through. He is in front. Big drift 4 wide through turn 4. Nobody heading into the beach just yet. You called it. Paul Curley to the lead.
Yep, and Houghton tucked in behind Eric because that inside lane just closed off.
And, well, you had said you thought that that Curley might be the more aggressive guy in the start, played out to perfection. And how about this? All the way through 4, now working through Madness. We've still got cars 2, maybe even 3 side by each here, and still nobody having a problem. Although that one car, and some smoke coming out of Coutil's car. What a shame.
It's like right front damage.
Yeah, driver that we really thought was going to be in here with an opportunity.
That'd be engine.
Way off. I think that's motor, and he's trying to do the right thing here. Get off to the edge of the track. What a shame. But Paul Curley getting it done, and not just by a car length here. He has opened up a good 6-7 car length margin over Luke.
Yeah, he lit off really fast there, and it looks like Matan fell into the clutches of Matt Waldbaum. So Matt doing the Honda guys proud here, moving up, attacking for a podium spot.
That's a good point. It's a Honda S2000, but it's got the Honda engine in it. One of the things that you can do here in the GRIDLIFE Touring Cup. And now the question is, you can see Waldbaum running wide. That may have cost him some exit speed. And that's such a key corner not to have that little kind of a mistake. In Rosenberg, here comes the horsepower of that vet.
Yeah, it's tough when you're Waldbaum in that car because you feel some pressure to open up a gap when you see that Corvette behind you leading onto the straightaway, and he might have just overdone it a little there.
Oh, look at this. Houghton now going to try and take advantage, sort of using Matan Rosenberg as a blocking back here and trying to figure out a way around. You can see that Waldbaum is right there on his left shoulder, still there.
Yep.
They're still side by side. This is what we're talking about with GRIDLIFE Touring Cup. 2 vastly different types of cars and still running like this. And Houghton refuses to give up that overlap. Now he's going to force the issue, taking a little shorter line to the apex here.
Yep.
But that gives Waldbaum, it looks like, a little bit better exit speed.
Man, they both played that to perfection. Waldbaum really generous with leaving Houghton the lane there, but they both kept it clean and kept their pace up pretty decent. How far they drop back from Matan, that's the thing you got to worry about in that situation.
Now into the carousel, this last turn, this quick little flick onto the pit straight. Technically, this is the front straight here, but we do the starts on that longer back straight. But you can see now that that margin that Curly has opened up continues to be impressive. He's up by 1.2 seconds officially over McGrew, then Swenson, and then Matan Rosenberg back up. And just like that, those 4 Corvettes leap away just a little bit.
Yeah, that little battle between Waldbaum and Houghton was great. It was entertaining to watch, but it definitely separated them out into their own kind of second race. We sometimes call that being the fastest car in the second pack. You know, and
Yep.
you really want to be the trail car in the lead pack. But I'm sure those guys will have some good battles here through the rest of the race.
Well, that's the thing. Whenever you start that, it's exciting to watch the side-by-side stuff, but that basically means that neither driver is on the optimal race line at that point, and as a result, they're not going as fast as they could. Oh, Waldbaum around the outside, but he had a big wiggle as he got into turn 4, but was able to hang on to it, and as such carried it just enough speed that he was able to make that return pass on Houghton as he went around the outside. Stick, Kyle, back up in the booth here after a mad dash from the pre-grid. As usual, off to an absolutely stonking start here.
What a wild start. You have to feel for Eric Cattell. They have towed that car off track at turn 13. Thank you so much to Aaron Lichty, who now gets to watch from behind us. Great dive on the brakes, though, for Waldbaum into turn 4. That was super late, but leaning on the ABS in that car to make that pass on the outside. And here are 2 wildly different cars, Greg. Austin Hurdle, this car scaled at 3,600 pounds last week at Road America, right next to one of the smallest cars in the field, Emil Tabb's MX-5 that has got an engine transplant as of 2 days ago.
And right in the middle of those 2 battles is that gray BMW of Paul Darling, who just continues to be impressing everybody. Hurdled down to the inside of Tabb at turn 1. Boy, I'll tell you, that's a tough place to make that work. And Tabb just stayed on it, ramped the outside, and hung on to that spot, Kyle.
That was a big lunge up the inside, and just great battles between 2 cars that should not be racing that close. It's just unbelievable. But Curly leads the way by half a second. Then it's McGrew and Swenson and Rosenberg, that Corvette quartet, as we called it at GRIDLIFE Midwest Fest. But look at just the size difference. You could pack that Miata under the hood of that 370Z.
Yeah, and that's the magic of GRIDLIFE Touring Cup, isn't it? All these different platforms, all these different sizes of cars, different engine configurations, drive configurations. And that was a side-by-side battle up into that 3rd spot. Is that Swenson and Rosenberg up in front? They are side-by-side in that battle for 3rd, and Waldbaum and Houghton again in the battle for 5th. It's amazing stuff.
2 by 2 for 3rd and for 5th. Waldbaum and Houghton behind this battle, but for 3rd, this is a podium spot here. Points on the line, still side-by-side over the crest at 9.
I got to tell you, Kyle, I think Rosenberg fending off Swenson at Road America, I think he now has in his head, I belong.
Yes, I mean, he belongs here, absolutely. And now he's got the car under him to utilize the talent that we saw last season in a car that wasn't quite handling the way that he needed it. He's got handling, he's got power, and he's got skill, and that will do you a lot of good here in GLTC. Across the stripe, Rosenberg hangs on, and Waldbaum fends off Houghton for now as Hurdle and Tabb go side by side once again into turn 1.
Man, are they having fun here? And I'll tell you what, this battle is not done, I don't think, between Waldbaum and Houghton. This is a classic case, as we see here. Houghton a little bit maybe more straight line, and he's going to use it.
Yeah, this car built for a completely different concept. It's got real low drag. It's built like a V8 supercar without the big rear wing, so it slips through the air. It basically takes advantage of not taking modifiers in the rule set, and it's very, very fast down the straightaway, but might struggle so much in the corners. But again, watching behind Tabb and Hurdle, I'm also keeping my eye on Eric Meadows. This is a relatively new build, debuted back at Watkins Glen. He's been trying to figure out what's not quite right with it, but it still is a quick car up to 10th place here, as he's going to get dragged into this fight here pretty quick.
And look at this, out and around on Waldbaum, up through madness. And I was thinking there for just a second that Waldbaum might try and straight line to the apex there in 6. You've got to really be up to that kind of a move, and he opted to back out of it just a little bit.
Yeah, Lena Chin was alongside somebody coming out of turn 5. That was pretty tight quarters here. Back for 3rd place, though. Rosenberg and Jeremy Swenson still fighting, and McGrew is reeled in Curly just a touch.
Yeah, this is not done up at the front, and Lena Chin started 16th. She's 12th.
Wow.
So really putting in a run. She said she really got comfortable in that car in that test yesterday. And we've talked about it. Comfort breeds confidence. Confidence breeds speed. And that's what we're seeing here. And I'll tell you what, Darling now, he wants to make this battle for that 6th spot, 5th and 6th spot, a 3-car battle.
Well, Paul was in spectator mode, but player 3 has joined the game here, huh? As they
Exactly.
dive on down into turn 1. that 55 car now is, again, similar to Rosenberg. He's finally in a car that that he's able to take to the front. Skill levels there, the car was not previously. Now he's in a great spot to take advantage of just that as he drives up to the back of Matt Waldbaum. Hurdle and Tab continue to trade places here. What a great battle that is as Houghton tries to put some distance on that number 90 car.
Yeah, I mean, obviously he's got the straight line speed. What he needs to do is just make sure he's got a big enough lead heading into Madness and that back part of the track where that Mazda won't be able to, that S2000 won't be able to run him down and try and figure out a way through. He's just got to keep building that margin. And boy, Jeremy Swenson getting some serious rotation up through the top of Madness there. As he sits in the 4th spot. Again, this is the guy that comes in here, championship lead, easily the most wins on the season, sitting in 4th right now. This category is tough.
It really is tough, but so is the battle for the lead. Paul Curley got a great start. He's led all of this race so far, but Luke McGrew is all over the back of him here, Greg. The slightest mistake, McGrew's going to be pouncing here, and he's been rock solid throughout a race, just as Curley has been. Both of these cars have had reliability issues that Swenson hasn't had. So they're behind him in the championship, but ahead of him on the racetrack here, Greg. And still, we got racing left to go, at least 2 laps to go.
Well, the interesting thing to me here is Curley, we've seen him race, and he's an aggressive guy. And Luke seems to be, he's a much more fluid guy. He likes that rhythm, and when it's working, he is fast. Oh!
Wow, that was tight out of turn 13. Ronnie Vidoc and Jake Jornstein were real tight. There they go down the front straightaway. That was a wild slide for the 132. And here comes to the inside of that Marchev, I believe, in the 17 into the mix. As they leave turn 1 now, and Zach Lavoie sizes both of them up on the run to the keyhole.
I think Jake Jornstad there was a little bit too gentlemanly. He left a big gap. Not that you want to overly squeeze somebody, but by leaving that much room, he ran out of racetrack at the exit.
Yeah, he ran out of racetrack, and he had a big tank slapper as he came through 12 into the sweep into 13. The car over-rotated on him. He had to catch it and swing it back left, but plenty of racing room left here as we ride on board with James Houghton through 4 and 5. Car looks like it's handling real well, but he's got a little distance to run down position 4, Jeremy Swenson. But the top 2 still nip and tuck there for that top spot. Houghton continues to roll through. There's Waldbaum and Paul Darling, and the lead gap has kind of flexed and flowed just a touch. But again, it's all about not making mistakes, Greg. Over the course of a season and over the course of a race, any mistake, and you're going to lose a spot to someone like Luke McGrew.
Well, absolutely, and that's the thing with Paul going out so strong right out of the gate. Obviously, we talked about it, Aaron and I did, about the weight of the Corvettes because of the power that they have. If you go too hard, you can run these, because these are street-based tires. This is not a full-on racing slick. And so I wonder if Curley, that fast lap still holding from earlier in the race, if he may not have just tortured those tires a little bit.
Yeah, he certainly wasn't waiting around at the start.
I knew.
He was on it and was comfortable and confident in the grip that he had off into turn 4. As Jake Jornstad still chasing. It's a slide through turn 13 just behind Emil Tabb and Eric Meadows as we watch them roll through turn 1.
And Austin Hertel in that Nissan now has been able to put a little bit of a gap, about a second over Emil Tabb. And I'm sure Emil will be a little frustrated with that, but just the fact that Emil's here and running at all, let alone in the top 10, that's pretty massive.
A Herculean effort this week, and he works a day job and went home every night after that from 6 p.m. onward to put this car back together and get it running as well as it is inside the top 10. A great effort, a great job. Again, these are cars built by their owners, driven by their owners, and raced by their owners. It's just an unbelievable feat to come back from something like that just 1 week ago, less than a week ago even.
Absolutely, and he's starting to feel a little heat now, isn't he, from the number 2, the Corvette of Meadows. And I just noticed that Curley and McGrew, Kyle, look like they're coming up on some traffic. That's going to complicate things.
The field is big here, and there's a fairly large disparity here this weekend, and that certainly could throw a wrench in the mix here. The lap traffic, run your line, let the leaders deal with you, but that can definitely cause an issue here as Curley leaves turn 13 chasing Julio Crispin, and Luke McGrew is going to see opportunity here as they head down into turn 1. Curley's offline just slightly, having a look at Crispin, but Crispin didn't let him go, so that will let McGrew close in a bit more.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, though, Curley responded when Luke got close on lap 6. Paul Curley set fast lap of the race, so he still has some speed left in reserve, and both of them were able to clear that lap car, so this battle will continue unaffected.
Yeah, and out of keyhole now. Look at how close Luke is now. Maybe a slip from Paul Curley in the slipstream. Is that 45 going to drive away? It's been one of the fastest cars in his straight line. So is Luke's, though, so you're not going to get very far away. Rocketing down the back straightaway, heading to China Beach.
Well, Curley got a nice little launch, it looked like there, Kyle, but once Luke caught the toe, he was able to close right back in on him, but Curley just enough speed down into turn 4, it looks like.
Still drawing even here. It's been a half a car length this entire race. It's ebbed and flowed slightly, but never more than a second out of reach from the 45. There's Crispin offline as the third place car goes by. That's Matan Rosenberg, and Jeremy Swenson will follow through. Then it's James Houghton. Matt Waldbaum has fallen off a bit as well. And Carlos Mendez, by the way, back a couple of laps. I didn't see what happened to him, but he's down the order quite a ways. Wasn't sure if something led him off course or he came into the pit lane or something, but he's back a bit. A car length between them now as they enter the carousel here, Greg, and running out of laps, running out of opportunity. Luke's been there, but he hasn't been able to take a swipe at the 45 just yet.
Never been quite close enough to try and get the nose underneath or get some overlap. White flag coming out.
Well, he's got 2.25 miles left to figure something out, and 13 more opportunities make it 12 as they head through turn 1. Paul Curley, a strong start and a stout mid-race, but he's got to finish this out with McGrew in tow.
And more lap traffic potentially. That could play a little bit of a role here at this stage. And Paul Darling, by the way, is starting to take a look at Matt Waldbaum. Matt's faded just a little bit, and Paul has been consistent, and he is right there and starting to fight.
Down the back straightaway for the final time. Paul Curley leads Luke McGrew, and this is where the 45 has been so strong, is leaving the keyhole. It's where he's building a lot of this gap. Luke's pretty good on the brakes and through the twisty stuff especially. But this is turn 4, your last really good overtaking opportunity, and Luke is not close enough.
That's actually one of the biggest gaps that we've seen these last couple of laps that Curley had going into it. But look already, they're not even through madness, and McGrew has just closed right back up again.
Yeah, got a little behind on the steering, though, entering turn 6.
Yep.
You see the slide on exit trying to compensate with the right foot. And behind them, Rosenberg fell back into the clutches of Swenson as well. So it's 2 duels going on at once here for first and for third.
Yep, with, again, James Houghton is sort of a lonely 5th right now, then Waldbaum and Darling going after it. And putting on a scrap. Look how close that battle is for third again.
Yeah, Swenson used every inch of the racetrack and all of the rumble strip at the exit of 9. But through the carousel here, Greg, nose to tail, Paul Curley with a strong start down into turn 4. He has played defense to perfection. And just one last run to the finish line. It is half a car length to the checkered flag. Paul Curley wins in the number 45 G-Speed Corvette with Luke McGrew right behind him. Then it's Rosenberg and Swenson, 3rd and 4th. Houghton with the top 5. Then it is Matt Waldbaum over Paul Darling with, I believe, a career best finish in that number 55. Hurdle, then Tab, then Meadows, the rest of your top 10.
Wow, what a race. We've had such great battles everywhere around. And just for the record here, the margin of victory 1st to 2nd, 1/4 of a second. Margin of victory 3rd to 4th, 1/4 of a second. That's about as close as it gets.
Wow, final corner. There's still some battles happening a bit deeper. We're watching it on screen now. That's Sam Scott chasing Ulrich, chasing Cyril Shukla. And just behind them is Joel Morrison. He wanted to swipe at him, but swipe or no swiping, he will stay put where he is right now. Jeremy Boysen with the wing back on his Honda Civic Type R. That's a SRO TC class car that he's purchased in replacement of the Cayman that he's still working on repairing after Watkins Glen. And Matt Corrence, Thomas Moss, a little bit of a drag race to the line. I think Moss got that by about a 1/4 of a car length. Brad Perkins, or excuse me, Andy Sundin, Clayton Fitzpatrick, and that will basically wrap up most of the rest of the field. As it looks like Dye Wins finishing up as well. But Greg, the Corvettes came to play again at the start of that race, and Paul Curley didn't put one tire wrong that entire race. And if he had slipped up for even a moment, Luke was there the whole time. He just never made that mistake.
Well, absolutely stellar start, obviously. Jumped it in terms of legally, timed it to perfection, and got the jump on those 2 guys up front, forced the issue down into turn 4. But I think what really made this work for Curley is his exit out of the keyhole. Every lap he would gap Luke by 3-4 car lengths, and that he needed every bit of it, because if he'd not done that, I think Luke would have found some spot to get some overlap.
Yeah, and certainly the keyhole is not going to be the strengths of the Corvettes, not the middle of the corner, but the exit. That's really where their advantage is. And it's just interesting to me. Yes, they're all Corvettes, Greg, but they're not all the same.
Right.
They do have some differences in their power and weight and their modifier selection. So when you see that Corvette gap the other Corvette, sometimes it's the driver that's getting some of that time, but also the way that Paul has built his car. It has always been one of the fastest cars in a straight line leaving a corner. It was like that at CMP earlier this year, but we saw it there visually. And for Paul Curley, it will be win number 3 of the season for him after wins at Carolina Motorsports Park, and then once again at GRIDLIFE Midwest Festival back in June.
And we've been talking about Lena Chin. She started 16th, was up as high as 12th, ultimately finished 14th, but I believe that's a career best for her as well.
I believe you're right. So that's a very strong result. Lena Chin, let's actually take a look. We've got that. I've got that on my little cheat sheet here, and we can pull that up. Lena Chin's best finish previously was a 10th. That came back at Carolina Motorsports Park. 13th at Road America.
Right. That's absolutely right, yep.
But very close.
Yeah.
But a great race all around, and especially on the bottom half of that top 10, Emil Tabb, Austin Hurdle, Eric Meadows, they had a great fight back there. Then we saw Jordan Stott have that big slide leaving turn 13. He had a handful of wheel plus some. But we learned some things for tomorrow.
We did learn some things, and the guy who's really now going to struggle through the rest of this event, unfortunately, is Eric Cattell, because not only did he not finish this race and the like, but I believe tomorrow's first race is based on lap time from today's race, and he didn't complete a lap.
No, and
so that's going to hurt.
I think the bigger concern is what was the failure mode on that car, right? Obviously, if that is an engine, I don't know that Eric is ready to rip that engine out and start over and put a new one in by tomorrow. That's certainly a task we've seen happen before with different teams, but that's a big task. We'll find out what happened to Eric, but for now, 44th in this race, and as far as his points effort goes, that's another big concern.
Yes.
30th something last week at Road America with a brake failure. So just a struggle the last couple of races for Eric after a real strong stretch where he never finished outside the top 10. So definitely some digging out to do. And you hate it too. His whole family's here. It's a home track event.
I know.
But if it's something fixable, you can be darn sure he's going to fix it and be out there again tomorrow morning.
Well, he does have a tendency to be able to do that.
Yes.
Fix stuff. and come back from some adversity. I'm sure that our camera car, James Houghton, would have liked to have been more in the, top 5 finish, you love it, but he wasn't in the battle that he would have liked to have been in. But considering where he started and the scrappiness he had to do and eventually just dispatched, obviously a very quick Matt Waldbaum, Houghton's, I think, going to be pretty pleased with that.
Yeah, a couple other things to note also is that the top 5 will get rewards weight as well, so that will factor in to tomorrow. But let's before we finish out some things, let's have a look at a couple replays from this race before we sign off for the evening and get prepared for a full day tomorrow, Greg. Here's a look at the start. Watch Paul Curley just get that launch on the run down to turn 4, then Cattell with that issue off into leaving turn 9, and certainly that does not look good.
No.
But here's that Waldbaum and Houghton battle that was so fierce side by side.
Yeah, they were scrapping, and both of them trying to deal with Matan Rosenberg. And the impressive thing, look where Matan was at that point, and then he not only runs down Swenson but passes him.
Yeah, some great battles here. Here's Houghton, a big lunge up the inside of Waldbaum, but then Waldbaum outbreaks him even deeper. And then this Tabb versus Hurdle battle. This is such a fun one to watch. 3 Miatas versus 1 370Z in terms of weight. Those cars are so wildly different. And again, more Houghton and Waldbaum battling. That was a good fight between those two.
It really was. And once Houghton got in front, though, he was able to just check out a little bit.
Yeah, and then there's that lead battle that would just never left the shot. Curley and Luke McGrew. These cars built very, very strong, and that was this battle that was basically around to the white flag. Here's the Jordan Stott and Ronnie Vidoc battle that ran out of road, and then Tabb and Meadows as they kind of accordioned back together, Greg.
Yep, and then here we go working through some traffic, and here we come. There's Swenson trying to hang on, trying to do something, get around on Rosenberg, just couldn't do it. And Matan Rosenberg, beautiful job, a podium after getting his first ever win a week ago at Road America.
Yeah, well done by all the drivers, and thankfully, from what I saw, at least on the start, we did a pretty good job getting them through clean as well. We're going to find out what happened. Eric Cattell update everybody tomorrow morning. It is a long day of streaming tomorrow morning and afternoon. We've got all 3 of the remaining races, the second and third qualifying, and the podium sprint for the NOS Energy Track Battle Championship, and 2 more sessions of drift. So, Greg, tomorrow is going to be a full day, 9 to 6, basically, Eastern time is when we're going to be ripping tomorrow from the timing tower up here at Mid-Ohio.
Yeah, early to bed today.
Yeah. Well, I've still got some work to do. It's going to be fun.
Of course you do.
We're going to head down to the paddock and try to get some content for tomorrow as well. But that's going to complete the first day of action here from Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. Look at that paddock, and the vibes down there are going to be great. Hopefully, we don't have too many repairs going on down there. We want everyone to have a good time tonight. But we'll wrap things up, and we'll see you tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Eastern for the continuation of the NOS Energy Track Battle Championship, GRIDLIFE Touring Cup, and GRIDLIFE Drift. Kyle Heyer with Greg Kramer. Big thanks again to Aaron Lichty for joining us for this race, and we'll see you again tomorrow.
Born on the track, bred on the mountains, raised on the podium, ready for anything and everything. Learn more about our entire line at falcontire.com.
Owning a car can be expensive. It can also be confusing. What? And when things don't go right, there's no doubt it could be frustrating. But it can also be a lot of fun. And for those reasons, FCP Euro exists. Check this out. Do you and your car a favor and head over to fcpro.com to learn more.
Hi, I'm Chris Forsberg, and when it comes to classics and high-performance cars, I only trust America's #1 racing oil, Valvoline VR1. It's built on Valvoline's long legacy in racing, so I can continue to build my own. With 2 times more zinc than the industry standard, VR1's high-performance formula is tested on the track and trusted on the road to ensure your engine is protected from metal-to-metal contact. And I use it so much, I haven't got my car on the bottle. That's why whether I'm racing or cruising, I protect everything I drive with Valvoline. Valvoline, trusted for over 150 years.